Hello and welcome to another episode of the Backbone Zone. My name is Tyson jones-peni, and today on the show we've got Logan Martin. Logan is a 6-time X Games gold medalist, a 2-time world champion. He won the first gold medal in BMX freestyle in Tokyo at the Olympics, and so much more. I don't even know where to start. Logan's probably the most successful BMX rider in freestyle of our generation. The dude is a savage. Everyone that rides BMX knows that. I'm a big fan of Logan. Personally, I think that he embodies what an athlete looks like in BMX, which is so far away from where I am as a rider, but I 100% respect Logan's work ethic. And more than that, I think he's a super talented rider. You know, he makes what he does look really, really good. He's doing some of the hardest tricks of all time, and yet he makes them look stylish somehow. So I had a really fun time talking to Logan about his journey, you know, learning about what it takes to sort of get there, highs and lows, all that sort of stuff is within this podcast. I really hope that you enjoy it like I did, and that you get something out of it like I did. Before you go listen to it though, make sure you go to backbonebmx.com/RDR and vote for the first RDR Awards, the Real Deal Rider Awards. It is an annual awards that we're putting on for Best Australian New Zealand Rider of the Year. So it is rider voted, so you can jump onto the website backbonebmx.com/RDR, the letters RDR, and you can have your say to best rider for park, street, trails, video part, women's rider, and racer. Like I said, this is the first annual one that we'll be running. It is going to be at ACJam, November 1st through the 3rd. We're going to have the awards given out then. I'm really looking forward to being able to celebrate Australian riders, Australian New Zealand riders through an award process like this. Think of it like the Nora Cup. We're trying to build something for BMX, but representing Australian and New Zealand riders. Can't think of any better place than to have it at ACJam. So make sure you're coming to ACJam, November 1st through the 3rd in Canberra. This is the 11th one since I took it over in 2013. So it's going to be crazy, just like always. I think this one's going to be really fun. But make sure you jump on and vote. backbonebmx.com/RDR. Voting closes October 18. You're voting for your favourite Australian New Zealand rider. Excited to see who takes out the top spots and the most loved rider of 2024. But enough about that. Hope you enjoy the episode. Thanks for listening. All right. Logan, thank you very much for coming on the podcast, mate. Really appreciate it. Stoked to have you.
No worries, yes. Stoked to come on and have a chat.
Yeah, man. Dude, I know I said it just before, but I got to congratulate you on the X Games thing. And impressive to see you come back after, you know, maybe some trials and tribulations. Do you want to talk to me a little bit about like how your year's been and everything to do with that?
Yeah. Well, thank you. Obviously, X Games was a good one to come back and win after what was not a very successful, Olympics for me. Obviously didn't go to the plan or the way I had trained for or got prepared for. I was actually feeling really good coming into this year. I was riding at a high level. I was feeling awesome on my bike, and then we had a feast event in February that went pretty well. Besides the weather, we didn't ride a whole lot, but that event went well for me. And then in May and June we had just two qualifying events, which were pretty important events for qualifying for the Olympics. And 1 week before I flew out for the first qualifying event, I messed up my foot, just riding at the hot box here. So I messed my foot up really bad, and then went to Shanghai, went to the first qualifier event, was able to pull my run, got second, and then after that event I came home to try and get it better. I was in the position where I was like, if I don't have sort of time off to get it better, and there was 4 weeks between the first qualifying event, the second qualifying event, and then 4 weeks till the Olympics as well. So it was all very tight. I didn't have any, I couldn't have time off and stuff. So after the first qualifying event, I came home. I had 2 weeks off. I had about 16 days off to try and rest my foot, get it better, so that I could get to the Olympics not injured.
Yeah.
So I went into the second Olympic qualifying event with only 1 week on my bike, which didn't go to plan. I didn't land my qualifying runs, didn't qualify for the final, which was disappointing at the fact I couldn't land a qualifying run. And then, which also means I didn't qualify in the top 6 to make my own selection into the Olympic team. So I had to sort of just, I guess it was, I had to be selected at that point, which I knew was going to happen because the other guys hadn't done well in the series either, in the Olympic series. So I knew I was going to be selected for the team, but yeah, I was battling an injury for those events, and come time for the Olympics, I had rested enough to not be injured. But yeah, I just didn't play the right cards at the Olympics. I had these tricks ready to go. This run that I wanted to do, this run that I had been doing, at the hot box at the outdoor park that we have. So I was going to the Olympics to pull this run, and it just didn't pan out that way. Qualified good. I think I qualified third. Qualified third. So I felt good in qualifying. Felt good on my bike all week. Practices went well, and the final I just wanted to step it up and throw down my best run. The stuff that I had prepared for, and it just didn't work out. But it is what it is. I got up and moved on. Got home. Went back to work for X Games. Started riding some concrete and just having fun on my bike again. I had a whole bunch of pressure on myself just to do well at the Olympics, and once it was over, I was stoked. Whether it went good or bad, I was stoked that pressure was gone. There's pressure at events all the time for me, but that I put on myself. But the Olympics was a different level of pressure. I wanted to back it up so bad. Played the wrong cards, but got on, moved on with it, and won my 6th X Games gold medal. So. That was a good one to win for sure. I was definitely stoked on that. It was a tricky course. It was a super tough course. Wasn't much to it. That was the tricky thing, But yeah, stoked to win my 6th X Games gold medal.
Yeah, man, you killed it. It's interesting. One of the things. There's so many things that I want to ask you just based on all that. Like, maybe the first thing I'll say is, I thought it was actually really impressive how you were able to handle the whole Olympics thing. Like, I could, even just from not a complete outsider, but I'm someone that is just watching as a fan and a spectator, and you seem to be able to just cope with the fact that you didn't make it. And I thought that was really impressive. And then obviously when you went and backed it up at X Games, it was pretty sick to have that redemption story, because it was you could tell that when you did the double flare or whatever, and the footage of you rolling away, you're frothing.
Yeah. And I think that's sort of that. I know there's a lot of people that are they were like, oh, I don't know if I should go talk to him, or how's he going to take this, and I sort of just reflect back on everything that I've done, and my life is so good thanks to BMX. Whether I win or I lose or whatever, I'm grateful for the position I'm in, the position that BMX has put me in my life, and I'm super grateful for all the events that I've won. So I sort of reflected back on that, and I don't need more wins to be happy and content in my life. I'm happy and content, but while I'm capable and able to keep competing at a high level, I want to keep doing the best I can. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and if it does, then that's a bonus. And that's exactly the way I looked at that. The fact there's not another Olympics for another 4 years is probably is an unfortunate thing, but that's the whole thing about the Olympics. And I think if I hadn't won an Olympic gold medal in Tokyo, probably would have taken it maybe a bit harder. I wouldn't be as probably content in my career, but the fact that I have won one, it helps me feel more content within myself. But Yeah, I moved on from it pretty good. Like, my wife might say different, but no, for the most part, I was pretty good. I was like, I wasn't just putting it on for the cameras or anything like that. Like, I was, there's always an Olympic down, a post-Olympic down. I definitely experienced it after Tokyo as well, even off the back of a win. But for the most part, I was pretty good. I was just happy to be back into a schedule, back into my normal routine after the Olympics, and then get ready for X Games and just ride my bike and have fun. And I've been doing that since the Olympics, and it's been good. I haven't been just rocking up to do a training session like I was leading into the Olympics. I've found some more fun in it again, and it's put less pressure on myself riding day in, day out, which is quite enjoyable.
Yeah, it's I definitely want to talk to you about that, because it's you're in that 1% of the 1% where you happen to train. You know what I mean? It's a fact of a BMX athlete's life now.
Yeah.
I want to pick your brain on I guess the idea of you. When did that happen for you to be like, I've got to become an athlete? This isn't just about BMX riding anymore. And then as well as that, I guess we can talk about it a bit later. But you said that it was easier for you to come back after the Olympics, not as much pressure, and just have fun riding your bike. Like, it's cool to hear that you still love to do that. And I guess we can talk about that afterwards. But when did you have to decide about making BMX more of an athletic pursuit?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if there was a particular point. I guess I always did it. I always did train. Yeah. Train.
Yeah.
When I was younger, when I was a teenager, I was rocking up to do all my hardest tricks every session.
Yeah.
And then progress and try and learn new tricks as well. Over time, it probably just become more structured.
Yeah.
As I started getting older and I started going to the gym, I started having to eat healthier and things like that. And when I first started competing, 2012, 2013, I started to think, like, how does an athlete train it? Like, how does a top end athlete train? Let's go to the gym, they eat healthy, and all those things. And I think that's probably what I started to do. Like, all right, if I want to be fit and strong, I got to eat good food, and I got to go to the gym. And if I want to be, if I want to have all these skills on my bike, I've got to ride my bike and push my level when I'm riding my bike. And then it just became structured over the years. And but I think I always pretty much did what I do now, just with more knowledge now. More knowledge and more structure and more routine to it.
Yeah.
And then because I don't know, I think, like, I was not the first, but like sort of one of the first that sort of got that wave of like having to go to going to the gym and eating good and things like that, and really focusing on becoming a fit athlete. Right? And then over the years it become just a common thing in competitive BMX.
Yeah, it's certainly, you feel it more now, and I think it's much more accepted probably since the second Olympics has come around. A lot more people are at peace with seeing the fact that these high level Olympian BMX riders, they've got to be more of an athlete. But that's a big thing for me is we see and we watch and we admire every other aspect of athleticism. There's people that froth like high level NRL, basketball, you name it. You know what I mean? Like, it's all high level athletics, and they're training like athletes. Whereas I feel like BMX needs to realize that people like yourself, like, that's important. You know what I mean? Like, you've created it's your profession. You know what I mean? And not only that, could you imagine a world where you didn't train to do like some of the hard shit that you do? You know what I mean? I couldn't imagine if it was just like, I'm just going to rock up and send a Oppo quad whip, like.
Yeah, exactly.
It's crazy.
That's just where the sport has evolved to as well. And, we all say it and we all know it. There's so many different aspects to freestyle BMX, right? Yeah. It's, this part of BMX has just grown into that because of how much it's evolved, how crazy the tricks are, how fit you have to be, how strong you have to be, and all that sort of stuff, and how much your body needs to be able to take impact and things. So you have to, you have to train your body to withstand that type of thing, and that's just where competitive BMX has gone, and I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's pretty. I mean, you're obviously seeing rapid improvement in riding from the fact that people treat it way more like an athletic endeavor. What, like, so 2012, 2013, when you started competing, you've kind of always had in your head, like, I've got to treat this like it's an athletic endeavor, but where was it that you had to make the decision, okay, this is something that I'm going to pursue as my actual profession? Did you have that moment?
When I was probably 17, I was riding a lot with Kyle Baldock.
Yeah.
We became good mates, and I think the good thing was, like, I wanted to, like, ride like him.
Yeah.
When I was younger, and I had him to ride with every day. So I was learning from one of the best at the time, and when I saw him sort of break out into the scene, start competing, start making like some good money, I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to go overseas, compete, and ride with the top guys. So probably 17, 18, I really started to, like, focus on trying to do well at competitions, and I want to get overseas and I want to compete. And to be able to get overseas, I got to get some sponsors. So I was trying to just line all the pieces up to where I didn't have to buy my own flights and go work a job and try and ride as well. I was trying to make those connections and get my flights and stuff paid for at the start, and then I can get overseas. But I started competing here at, like, in Australia at, like, the core series and just local events. And once I was sort of being able to construct a bit of a line and stuff on these local parks, then I was like, oh, maybe I'll try to go overseas. And so when I was 17, 18, I really wanted to focus on trying to make it a career.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Was Kyle's a mad dog. It's pretty funny. Like the story from before when we were riding here, I was just trying to do, like, regular down whip airs, but go more straight. I've always done them, like, cut on the angle. Like And it was like half a dozen times of me just landing one-footed on the pedal, and he's like, "Just do it, dude." Like, I'm like, man, coming from you, I can see why you'd say that.
Yeah.
But it was pretty funny. So were you working at all before then? You were just working more odd jobs?
No, so I finished high school when I had just turned 17, and I sort of said to myself, like, I'm going to give myself a year to just focus on riding.
Oh, cool.
So one year I'll focus on riding, and if I can't do something from here, I'll look to get a job or something like that. And I did get a job probably when I was 17 or maybe 18. My dad hooked me up with, like, this guy who knew a job at like a cabinet making place, and I went there for half a day, and then I just left. I just went there for signed up, got, like, met everyone, whatever. They taught me a few things, whatever, and I went to lunch and I just didn't go back. And I was like, man, I went to the skate park, and I'm like, I want to go to the skate park. Like, this is what I want to do. So yeah, I did try to look for a job. It wasn't for me, but around that time I was doing some shows here and there.
Cool.
Just some shows with JC Epidemic.
Yep.
So trickle in a bit of money here and there, which was quite good. But I was also living at home, so it was wasn't many expenses and things like that. But shows got me by for a little while, and then that's when I sort of started competing as well and trying to get overseas a little bit.
Were your parents supportive of the whole BMX thing?
Yeah, they were very supportive. They definitely didn't have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah.
They were just, I guess they were probably stoked that I was just like using my time wisely. Like, I was at the skate park trying to do something.
Being productive.
Yeah, being productive. So they were stoked that I was just spending my time at the skate park most of the time. And now they definitely
they must be
okay
with it. Stoked with how it panned out. I mean, it's interesting. I think, like, kids, you obviously had a big drive to get overseas and things like that, but it sounded like you've kind of approached it pretty methodically. Maybe I'm just hearing it back. Maybe you were just winging it because you were young and things like that. But Do you think that there's a certain blueprint that you need to follow if you're a rider? Like if you saw young Logan at the skate park, 16 years old, and he was like, I want to go to become next Olympic champion, would you have advice for him?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably advice that you can give, but I don't like. You have to have that internal drive.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have it. Every elite sports person will have some sort of internal drive in them to get to the top, to get to where they want to be. And if you don't have that internal drive, it's extremely hard, because if you lose motivation one day, you just you're okay to slack off. And if you have that internal drive to want to get to somewhere, you're going to keep going, no matter if you have motivation, whether you feel like it or you don't. So it's hard to know who has that internal drive.
Yeah.
Over time, you could pick it up if someone has the internal drive or not. But I think you have to fully believe that you can get to the place you want to get to.
Yeah.
Without any doubt in your mind, you have to just believe you can get to reach your goals. And that's what I had. I didn't even think that was an option to fail. It was like, this is what I want to do. How do I get there? You put the pieces together and you work extremely hard, and it can all pan out. And I had that internal drive to do that and to figure it out. But by all means, no, I didn't know what I was doing. I was just winging it and doing the best I can do, and with what I knew at the time. I think that's all anyone can really do. But yeah, you've got to have that internal drive factor, I believe.
Yeah, it's like I really like that quote. It's like, the person who enjoys the climb will always be the one that like reaches the destination.
So,
or even higher than the destination you can expect for
sure.
But I definitely agree with the internal drive thing. I think it's super important, and obviously watching your career through BMX, you can tell that you're like very driven to whether it's put the best run together, or you're going to win this particular event or whatever. But has that been hard to keep over? We're saying 2012, 2013 is 2024 right now. That's over a decade easily. How have you been able to maintain that drive, especially when you're at the top?
Yeah, I think there's also a nice quote. It's hard to get to the top, but it's harder to stay at the top. And when I started to sort of, win some events in BMX, internally I was just like, if you want to stay here, you got to work harder. And that's just what I did. I just started working hard. I kept, I guess, kept my finger on the pulse. I was trying to stay with the level of BMX, and I would just continually do that. And I also only ever thought you were as good as your last event. So if you win it, if you want to be as good, still you have to win the next one. You have to try and win the next one. And I don't know. It was just something that I did, and it's just something that it kept me striving to be better every day. That's exciting for me. It kept me pushing my own limits, my own level, and it kept me happy day in, day out. If I'm overcoming fear, if I'm pushing past my own boundaries every day, then I end the day happy, and end the day in a positive way. So I just like to do that, the next day as well, and then the next day, and it's just a bit of a spiral effect, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
but
once
yeah,
you get that momentum.
Yeah, and I think for me it was, it's quite fascinating to me, like all the elite athletes that can stay at the top for a long time. To me that's quite interesting, because it is a pretty special thing. You'll get some guys that'll just be super good for a couple of years, and then just not have that drive to stay at the top. And I've just always had that thing to keep trying to get better.
Yeah. Do you listen to any like negative, like opposite motivation? Like, so for example, I follow MMA, UFC, all that sort of stuff, and Alex Volkanovski's one of the dudes, and he's always said that he likes the haters, because the haters is what keeps him driven to be like proven wrong. And I think in Australia we have a bit of an issue with like, people like rooting against the person who is probably favorited.
Yeah.
Have you ever had that feeling, or do you just block that out?
No, I'm not really. I sort of block it out. Like, I'm aware of it, and it's not a driving factor as to why I want to win, though. It's like,
that's good.
I'm aware of it. I know there's probably people there that want this guy to win, not me, and things like that. I'm for sure I know that. But it's not like, I want to go win this event just to prove these guys that don't believe I can win. It's nothing like that. I go through life understanding that you can't please everyone.
That's good,
so I just focus on doing what I can do, and the people that enjoy what I do, then that's awesome. If they don't like it, then don't watch. I don't know.
That's a good way.
I'm okay with that, and I understand you can't make everyone happy in this life.
That's funny that you like with the because you've kind of set this precedent of being, from my eyes, right? Like, I've been, like I said, I'm 38 next month. Been watching BMX. I like watching competitive BMX as well as watching like the underground shit. And I feel like you almost set this new level that people had to get to in terms of competitive riding. Like, your runs are all at such a high level that it's like pretty next level, right? But I also feel like maybe they score against you in certain senses. Do you ever get that vibe? Like, do you?
It's definitely been like.
Or are you your own worst critic and you just?
I'm like that. There is some times where people will sort of mention like, you got bad scored or whatever. And I just think to myself like, well, if the run's good enough to win, it'll win.
Yeah.
If it's not good enough to win on the day, then it won't win. So
exactly.
I don't know. Maybe sometimes it's sort of been like, I got scored a little bit bad because I didn't do a couple of my biggest tricks or something like that, or the tricks I did do looked easy and landed smooth, so it doesn't look as thrilling, I suppose. Which it does go like that sometimes, but I've never really played into it because I'm just like, if the run's good enough to win, it'll win.
It makes sense.
It's same as like a lot of people will say, I want to qualify high so I can get scored better. I'm just like, well, if your run's going to win, it's going to win. I don't know. Do you care that you qualified low? No, it doesn't matter because if my run's good enough to win the event, it's going to win the event.
That's right.
Those types of things. But I don't play into it too much.
What is like? So to go back to what we were talking about with the Olympics, and you came home and started riding. What's some of the stuff that you like riding when you're not in full training mode?
I just like jibbing around at concrete skate parks. I love riding tech. I love doing nose wheelies and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
All foot jam tricks. Like I've been known to do some pretty cool foot jam trick variations back in the day.
Man, I remember the GC was massive. I remember watching that on. Is there a dude Chance?
Chance, yeah.
There's like heaps of people.
Yeah, just crazy tech stuff. So that was cool. Like the compound days were super cool because we'd have, the compound was massive. It had we'd have like a half pipe session. We'd have a tech box jump session. We'd have a resi session. And we'd just do that day in, day out. And it was like it was just 6 hours at the compound. Most days just doing all this stuff. And like I loved riding tech. Like really enjoy riding tech. So. Yeah, just riding different parks keeps it fun and keeps it like interesting instead of just rocking up doing the same thing. But the only thing is there's not much of a crew that does that. So if I go and ride some concrete skate parks, it's usually by myself, or people that don't really push themselves on concrete.
Okay.
Right.
So
that's a bit of a challenge. I can either come and ride the hot box with some people that I like riding with, or I can go and have fun at a different skate park, but it'll be by myself. So it's a bit tricky to sort of find that balance. But I do want to start to ride some more outdoor parks. Because I do enjoy that, whether it has to be by myself or not.
It's that's one of my favorite things about BMX these days is like I love the going to a new park and then having to figure it out. And being like, oh man, I actually kind of suck here. I actually love the feeling of being like, oh man, compared to where I ride locally,
Yeah.
I feel very much like back at stage one.
Yeah, and I think that's the hard thing is because like you can't go to a concrete skate park and have the session that you have at the indoor skate park. You know, it's just a completely different thing. But you can still go to a concrete skate park and challenge yourself.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I think I like the challenge, trying to learn different things, adjust to different transitions quickly.
Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff. So I find the challenge like exciting.
Yeah,
and trying to adapt.
Dude, same.
Which is cool.
And I have this thing. I caught myself out even just recently, having moved up to Queensland. I'm like caught myself out being like, oh man, that transition's off. Like I would love it if it was just this, or I'd love, if that was taller. And I come from a country town that had no skate park. And I'm like, man, I gotta put myself back in that mindset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just because I've traveled around, seen all these cool parks, doesn't mean that I'm above riding like a small
that's right.
skate park. So
yeah.
What parks do you like riding around here that are
Runaway Bay is super fun. That's like just like a mellow concrete skate park. Super good to jib around on, and it's got a bit of flow to it too, but you can't really do many like.
It's got the straight spine.
It's got the street spine that connects into like a Copa spine, and then two bowls on each side, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's pretty basic, but like super fun. And a few of the guys like riding there, so we'll get some fun sessions. Nah, they took that whole building down, so there's just like nothing there now. It's just a field.
Yeah, right.
So it looks like crazy, but like that's a super fun park. I like riding Browns Plains, which is about a 50-minute drive from me, but I sort of grew up over there.
Okay.
So that sort of brings me back to to my roots.
Mad. Yeah.
Crestmead's fun. Just a little like that's my local skate park when I was a kid.
Okay.
Can't do too much there, but that's fun. They got a bit of an upgrade a couple of years ago. But there's a bunch of fun parks. Like they're all fun in their own way.
Yeah.
But you just got to ride them differently.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, I actually so I was riding a really big bike. Like I've got a bike that's meant for 22-inch wheels, but I was running 20-inch wheels. So it's a fucking massive bike. I actually just had to go back to a smaller bike because I'm riding all this like 6 foot and under transition.
Tight transitions.
Like, my God, like I can't do anything on this stuff.
Yeah.
But I love the exploration. Like having moved up here, I just feel like revitalized.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah,
because it's all just so new.
Yeah.
Speaking of revitalized, we've spoken about this a little bit, but how has it been with becoming a dad and continuing to pursue BMX at a high level like you have?
Yeah, look, it's obviously very challenging. It definitely has it comes with its challenges. My son's now 5, my daughter's 2.5. But me and my wife make it work. Like when we first had Noah, we would just we would make it work where I could ride, and it works pretty good because she works in the afternoon. She's a gymnastics coach.
Oh, cool.
So she works after school hours and into the night, and I sort of like to ride and work out and do my stuff first half of the day. So it worked out pretty well. I'll do my stuff in the morning, she'd look after Noah, and then we'd pretty much swap in the afternoon. So it works pretty good, where I'm able to still do my stuff. I have to be more structured for sure. I can't just go and spend the whole weekend at the skate park and stuff like that now, and I don't want to do that either. I want to be around for my kids and hang out with my kids, but my son picks up a bike and he loves going to the skate park as well, so he's cruising around on his bike. But yeah, it's definitely it comes with its challenges for sure, especially when I've got to travel. Got to go travel overseas, and my wife's still got to work and stuff like that. We've got to find babysitters and all that sort of stuff. We don't have family close. So it's definitely tricky. We don't get much time for just me and her either. Daycare days we're both pretty much working. So it's tricky, but we've made it work, and we've made it enjoyable as well. Where we're not too restricted. I guess we've got a good balance. I think we found a good balance.
Yeah, man, it's so fun. I've spoken to you a little bit about it beforehand, but like it's pretty fun when you have like your son Noah's 5, and all of a sudden he's into BMX. Like my son is like froths on it. Do you find motivation coming from those guys, or you when you're is it hard when you're at an event and they're there, or is it harder when they're not there?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It's hard both ways, isn't it? Like it's hard. It's very hard when they're with me, when they travel with me, because like I want to be there and hang out with them and be a dad.
Dude,
you know?
that's the biggest thing. I think it's like once you're with them, you're like, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
But then I'm like trying to win this event, so I'm trying to focus on this event. But then I want to be there with my family and hang out. So like that's actually really hard when they travel with me. When they stay home, it's a bit easier for me to focus on the event. You know, but then I'm obviously missing them and stuff like that.
Sure.
So it definitely comes. You know, it's hard both ways. It's never easy
for sure.
You know, but yeah, it is good. You know, it's cool. It's awesome. It's awesome that they get to travel with me sometimes. You know.
Yeah.
I never traveled overseas till I was 17, and that was by myself. You know, so I get to sort of show my kids some different parts of the world while they're young and stuff. It's pretty awesome. So it's definitely, I'm not complaining whether they come or they don't. Yeah.
Dude, and they're seeing like things. You know, so I think that BMXers have this pretty unique way of seeing the world. Like you don't go the typical path, you know what I mean? When you go overseas, like you're always looking at different things, and I just feel like if you could be a little kid and be in a position where like, you know, their dad is riding this like super unique place, or they're like across the world riding some other place, and they're with you, like that's such a unique thing.
Yeah, for sure. It's
if you're special. Like just going to I mean, tourist spots are obviously cool, and it's great to take kids to tourist destinations and things like that, but there's places in the world that like BMXers see that might only be around for like 3 days. Like say for example, like a Vans Pro Cup or something where they build a whole skate park. Like that's a freaking memory. You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
pretty spectacular, especially considering that in like years to come, when they point at like photo books, if photo books even exist.
Yeah.
They'll be like,
well,
where was that? Like, you know, whereas like Disneyland exists for a lot of people, millions of people, whereas like you've seen some shit that no one else has seen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really cool. Like, and we went to Paris in 2022. So Noah was 3. I think he just turned 3. Yeah, wow. he just turned 3, and like for the next couple of years, you know, up until now, every time he sort of sees the Eiffel Tower or sees something pointy like the Eiffel Tower, he'll point out like, oh, that's the Eiffel Tower. We went there. Like, and it might not even be the Eiffel Tower. It's just a big pole or something, you know. But like he's stoked because he remembers it, and
that's so sick.
Yeah, it's super cool. And obviously now he just got back from Paris as well. But he like remembers the trips as well, which is super cool. Sick. Yeah.
Are you thinking that you dive in full blown into BMX, or is it something that you just want to see naturally happen?
For Noah?
Yeah.
No, I just want to see if he'll pick it up and enjoy it like I did. You know, he's obviously surrounded by it. I don't want to force it onto him, or I don't want to be like, you know, you have to get into competing, or you have to get into doing tricks and stuff like this. I just want him to want to go to the skate park and ride his bike. You know, I found a love for just being at the skate park and enjoying and pushing myself. So I want him to sort of find that. If he doesn't, then, you know, I'm sure he'll find that in something else. But you know, he's definitely surrounded by it, and he definitely enjoys like riding his bike now, which is cool. He's always asking me to go to the skate park, or you know, most of the time if I'm out riding somewhere and I don't have anyone to ride with, he'll be like, Dad, I want to come ride with you. Like, can I come ride with you, Dad? Like, I don't like that you don't have any friends to ride with today and stuff like that. So he's super pumped to come and ride with me and just hang out at the skate park and ride his bike. So it's it's very cool to see that he has that you know, sort of enjoyment to want to ride his bike. But yeah, it's definitely not forced or pushed on him at all.
Yeah. That's super cool. You and I have a very similar outlook, because like I said, my son is into it, but like I've almost been like not anti wanting him to ride bikes, but I don't want to be someone who like pushes it onto him at all. Like I just want him to find whatever it is he's into. Like if he likes ice hockey, well, I mean, good luck, because we're in a pretty hot part of Australia. But you know, like that's the thing that I want him to be into. For
sure,
because it's his thing.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Like, I think finding something that you like is like a pretty cool experience and journey, you know.
So I think you'll find more enjoyment and go further in something that you find a passion for, instead of it being forced on you.
For sure.
So and like I didn't find BMX till I was 12. I played football before that, and I wanted to, play in the NRL and stuff, so I started playing football when I was younger. So I want him to sort of experience different sports as well, and find what he's gonna enjoy.
Yeah. It's funny how because I really probably found BMX properly when I was like 12. I always say it coincides with this like magazine that I got, December 1998 BMX Plus. But it's interesting now seeing all these kids coming up, and I don't knock it, but like all these kids that are like in this pathway that are like 5, 6, 7 years old, and it's like, man, like it would be. It's definitely not bad, but like sometimes I get scared that they don't get to see anything else, and then by the time they're 16, they might be burnt out on it.
I'm the same. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. All these coaching programs and things like that, and I'm like, I said to my wife, like, I don't want Noah to get into that. Like, I want him to just ride at the skate park like I did, find enjoyment in it, push himself, learn with his friends, that sort of thing. So I don't know how I feel about it too, but the kids that I've seen that are doing that stuff are killing it. The level of these kids, man, is crazy. So it could also be a very good thing in the future. I don't know, but right. Time will tell. It's the first sort of wave, I think, for this generation. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But I hope they're enjoying our sport as well. Even though they're
right.
In this thing,
you don't want to get them too caught up in only that progression of trying to get to this particular thing. Because a lot of your internal motivation, or at least for me, is just the fact that I just can't think. I can't think right when I don't ride. You know what I mean? Like, if I don't ride, it's like something's missing. So like I said before we even started, I'm like, man, I was hoping I'd get some tips from you, because I'm so hard out on still wanting to learn BMX, even though I've been riding it for like 25 years. It's funny. One of the things I actually wanted to ask, just as a topic, I just wanted to know what your preparation looks like in terms of like maybe something like, let's just say the Olympics, right? Like, let's just say you know the Olympics is coming up. How do you prepare for an event like that? Do you have a block of time where you're thinking like, okay, I'm 2 years out, I'm going to start learning 5 new tricks?
A little bit. My structure sort of stays the same. Probably for the past 4 or 5 years, I've just, I've had 2 rest days a week, and I ride for 5 days. I'm in the gym for 4 or 5 days. That's more so based around the family. We have a Wednesday and a Sunday as a full family day. The other days is where I focus on what I do. So that sort of has stayed the same since I found that sort of structure and that balance there. Leading into Tokyo and leading into Paris, I did learn some new tricks and keep them sort of under wraps. To sort of like, if I need to do these tricks, or leading into Tokyo, if I need to do these tricks, I'll have them in the bag. Paris, I was determined to do these new tricks. That was the difference. I was determined to do a few new tricks. But I did. I was definitely prepared for both Olympics. I was capable of winning both. I won one. Came last at the other one. I had some tricks ready to go. But each Olympics I thought about it differently, I think. I thought this like in Paris was going to be like everyone's going to bring out new tricks, and the comp's going to be crazy, and it wasn't like that at all. So I thought about this one a lot differently, but I don't know, for the most part I still just ride and prepare for the Olympics like I do any other comp. I'm still riding and doing my tricks every day. I that's what I do. I do my big tricks every day, and I try and just make sure I have a good session that way. I probably spent too much time at the hot box and the outdoor skate park there. Leading into Paris, like there wasn't much diversity in where I rode every day. And that does come back to not having anyone to ride with anywhere else. Most of the sessions are spent out here. That's why I was going to get rid of my park, because we don't spend any time at my riding my backyard park anymore either. So everyone rides out here, and that's just where the vibes and the sessions have been.
Is it not? Sorry to interrupt. Is it just because everyone else is sort of busy working, or is it just not?
No, it's just because everyone feels more comfortable here.
Sure.
We have good sessions here. Don't get me wrong, and that's we have a good session, then everyone's like, oh, let's come back tomorrow and have another good session, and it's just a bit of an effect like that. Everyone can have their session and get all their big tricks done and stuff like that every day. But I find the diversity and adapting to different parks is a crucial element to competing well as well, which a lot of guys don't understand. So leading into Paris was a lot of just sessions here. There wasn't many other skate parks we visited. Probably for the most part of this year. Leading into Paris. So besides that, it was just getting every other session is just like I'm getting used to it, getting ready for a normal event. So
what's one of the tricks that you had that you were planning on unveiling? I saw a few after.
Yeah, well, I had.
Just to quickly say that I loved the after Tokyo, and then your Instagram, you were posting like all the crazy shit that you'd done that no one had seen, and then like I felt like that was the same thing that happened with Paris. Like all of a sudden there was like tricks coming out of like on the gram. That it was pretty funny too.
Yeah, and that's just a few of the tricks that I had like ready to go, and
But yeah, what was like one? So like, walk me through like one of the tricks that you'd learnt, and like what a process.
One of the tricks that I did do in Paris was the switch quad whip. Which I've done a couple of times. I had done it at Nitro World Games and at X Games last year. 2023. Yeah, last year. In dirt. So on a bigger size jump though, not on a box jump. So I was doing them every day on the resi. Just because I'm like, oh, this is going to be a good trick. If I can get this dialed in, do it every day, get this in my run, it'd be a good trick to have. So that was one of the tricks. I had learnt decade flips, which I was doing every day. I hadn't planned to do it in Paris, just because I chose a different box jump trick. But a decade flip, I was doing double flares every day, which people sort of knew I could do, but I hadn't posted much about it. I posted after Tokyo that I was doing them. So leading into Tokyo, I don't think many people knew I was doing them. What else? Flare double down whips. I was doing flare switch double down whips, which is actually how I messed my foot up.
Okay.
But I was doing them like most days on the resi. I was doing them on the ramps, on the proper ramp outside.
So like, how does something like let's just take because the decade flip seems a little bit more I can see how an Oppo, not that an Oppo quad whip isn't the fucking hardest trick in the planet, but like I've seen you do Oppo double whips, Oppo triple whip, Oppo quad whip, right? But like, if you're gonna do a decade flip, like how do you even approach that? Like what? Like how did that come about?
It actually came back because when Pat passed away, he was the first one to do a decade flip, and some of the boys were like, oh, let's learn the trick in the foam pit. They were trying the trick, and Alec Daniludi learned him, and then he learned him on the resi, and he had him dialed. Like he has a really good one. So that they started trying. I wasn't trying it with them, but they started trying that. Because for in honor of Pat. And then Alec learned him really good, and I'm like, oh crap, let me I've done it back in the day, a few times. I'm like, oh, let me try one in the foam pit. And then they sort of started working in the foam pit. So then I started doing them. I actually did it on the resi in a gamer bike with Alec.
Okay.
Like I was filming a YouTube video, he said it, and I'm like, all right, I'll give it a go. I did a couple in the foam pit, and then I did it in a gamer bike for a YouTube video.
Oh wow.
And then, so I posted that, but then I hadn't posted on my Instagram and things like that, and I just sort of kept doing them every day and got them dialed in. But I have done them a while ago, probably like 2015.
Yeah, right.
I had done a few of them.
Is that like GC compound days or something?
I did. Yeah, I actually, you know what I did? I did one in 2013 when I was filming an edit, over the GC compound box, and then Greg Phillips lost the clip, so it never made the video. So I did it one time, lost a bunch of footage, and that was one of the clips. And then I did it a few years later when I had my resi jump set up, a big resi jump that I had in my yard. So I'd done one or two over that as well, but it was never like a consistent thing. It was sort of just like a one-off thing here and there that I'd done. But then revisited it once Alec had learnt it.
Yeah, it's a badass looking trick.
Yeah, it is a cool trick. It's quite a bit going on.
So when, like, you've obviously got these like this plethora of tricks, right? But then there's tricks that come out of left field. Like say the front bike flip is one of those tricks where Willie do it first or something? Who did that first?
Willie learnt
so,
it. Yeah.
Like that's the type of trick where it seems like judges don't even know really how to score it. You know what I mean? Like it's such a different trick.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about like other shit that you could potentially try and do that's like non-typical like that?
Yeah, I mean I'm definitely always thinking like what can be done and what's possible.
Because you know like bike flips were a thing for a little while, like when Morgan Way was around, and then Zach Warden did like the bike flip tail whip. But it's kind of like one of those tricks that didn't really take off. But I feel like the front bike flip seems to be like a pretty prominent trick. I think like for me, like I learnt bike flips, but then they were never dialed, so I just sort of moved on to something else, you know. Front bike flips I started to get the knack of, and it's like it's hard because you throw the bike differently every time, and it's all based off the pop and stuff like that, but for the most part you can get back to it. And it's just a pretty cool feeling trick, you know. You're just in the air floating like this, like, oh, am I going to land it? I am. Or no, I'm not. I'm going to slide out of it or whatever. So it's just a pretty cool trick, and it looks awesome. It's a crowd pleasing trick, and it's a risky trick. You know, judges do reward risk. If you do it towards the back end of a run when you're fatigued, it's definitely a lot riskier. So they'll reward that. You know that I did one in 2021 World Champs, and it was at like 45 seconds maybe, and it was like slow. It was almost like, oh, he's gonna crash, and then I got back to it, and like that was a lot riskier at that time, and you know they really rewarded that. So they rewarded the risk of doing it that late when the rest of the run was pretty good. I could have just done something a bit safer, and you know made sure I pulled a run, but I risked that, and then they rewarded that. Cool. I remember that because that was you won that one, right? That's right. Because that was the same one Brandon blew his knee out.
That's right. Yeah.
It's really interesting to watch all that stuff go down, like with tricks and things like that, and the way that competitions run. One of the things that I've been really like, I guess, passionate about is I love the idea. I personally think that BMX is big, right? And it seems to be growing bigger, like more generally accepted in the public. But what I would love to see is to have that crossover for when people can understand it a little bit better, because I think that like competition seems to be maybe a little bit difficult for general public to understand who wins and why. And I've got this like idea of like people going head to head at like a randomized park. Like imagine you go to Woodward and it's like you versus Corey Walsh, but then the randomizer comes out and it's at like the concrete bowl. You have to, you know, like it's Corey's domain, but then like then Logan's got to like prove his worth at this park. That, people don't know that he can ride concrete. And I just think it would just be a really cool way to build a storyline. Has there ever been a thing, have you thought about like, say the way different competitions are run, like is there a difference between a FEAS event and like an X Games event, for example?
I mean, for the most part, probably not.
No.
You know, like
it seems like it's a little bit more similar than it was. You know, like it was you and Marcus Christopher and all these guys. It was very similar, like crew that you.
That's right. So like, generally, like the course is completely different, right? That you got a big FEAS course or a little concrete bowl. But you know, if you go to a FEAS course and you know, do all your big tricks, flow the park well, use the course, you know, you're gonna win. If you go to a X Games, flow the park good, do all your big tricks, you're gonna win. You know, it is a hard thing, and it is very hard when you have riders like Dovey, you know, not even making the final in X Games, but rode the course the best. You know, but he just didn't have the tricks, and that's just it is hard to link the two up. You know, it is very hard.
I've been thinking about that a lot, because it's like, if you drop two people in a skate park and someone does a really good trick, but it's like fly out, and then the other person does no tricks, but it's like uses the part, like they just ride, like if two people, not even in a comp, like you go to the skate park and you're like, oh, I got this line figured out, and like riding it all different, and to me that's really, really impressive. Obviously tricks are impressive, but like it's an interesting thing to think about, like maybe use of course is a thing that's like maybe underlooked in terms of like competitive. But it's also like the guys that are all doing the tricks and stuff like that, we're using all the course. We're just not looking as stylish or as flowy, you know, as Dovey and things like that. It's hard because you're either, you know, it's hard to be like, okay, Dovey rode the bowl the best. You know, he was going the highest, he looked the best out there, but he didn't make the final because he didn't have enough tricks. When all the other riders that made the final are doing big tricks. So it's like you just have to have a bowl comp with all the bowl guys. And you have to have a trick comp with all the trick guys. You know, it's hard to link them together, and I don't know what the answer is there, but it's, you know, it would be cool to see it have I think
like blend in.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
But it's hard because then you're going to have those guys like, oh, you know, he didn't deserve to win, this guy looked way better, and things like that. And it's just a hard thing because the riding is so different. You know.
Well, I mean, that's the funny thing about that is, like, a real world example is when you came to Act Jam, right? And everyone was like, holy fuck, that's cool that Logan's coming to Act Jam. And then everyone was like, dude, he just rode Western Creek better than everyone I've ever seen. You know, like, and that's where it kind of leads back to this, like, idea of what the you versus, say, Corey Walsh in a bowl thing. Because I think that would be a very surprising type of riding for people to see from both of them. And then same goes with the opposite. Imagine Corey Walsh goes to a feast course. He might not win, but you might see him do like some pocket gap that no one else is doing. And it's like spectacular from a spectator point of view. And I think that's really cool because, like, you know, when you came to Act Jam, it wasn't just that you rode and blew people's minds, but like it was rider voted and you won Act Jam. So it's like pretty cool to expose people to different types of riding, or like you as the type of rider that people expect from, you know, expect a certain type of riding. And you're on this different new terrain. And it's like, oh man, you actually can ride like 7-foot concrete bowl. Bat out of hell, you know. I think it's like it's good. Like, I think it's fuck this chair, man. Keep falling off this chair. You know, like, it's just good for people to be able to see. You know, riders like yourself, that high competitive rider. Same with, say, for example, Brandon. I can't call him Looper. Like, I can't call him Loopy or whatever, but Brandon, at the Vans comp, he was, like, riding ridiculous. Like, you know, at 5 Dock, he was, like, doing huge pockets and big gaps and everything like that. And it's like, people probably forget that you're just like this super, like, the competitive riders are also really just good at riding. They just happen to practice at places like where we're at right now.
That's right.
It's just a fun thing to think about. Bringing the two worlds together a little bit more is something that, like, I would be super into. So what's happening from now? You know, you've got a bit of a break from the. What's the season like? Have you finished your competitive year? Are you already thinking about the next event? Like, what's the story?
So we have a world championship in December.
Oh wow!
Which I'll go to.
Oh, cool.
That's in Abu Dhabi.
Oh, sick.
And then same thing next year, just competing. You know. I'll pick and choose where I'm going to go, but I definitely want to ride some more X Games. You know, I enjoy X Games. since I was a kid, I wanted to be riding X Games.
Yeah.
So I love going to X Games events. Maybe I'll hit some World Cups. We'll see. I'm not overly excited to go, or overly fussed if I do or don't go to some of those events. You get 1 45-minute practice with 15 people on a course, and then you got to go into a qualifying the next day and stuff like that. It's not as fun for me. I'm like, I spend a whole week just riding my bike for about an hour. I'm waiting around all day to ride and that sort of thing. So that's not as fun for me.
Yeah.
These days, I don't really care to do that too much. So we'll see if I go to some more feast events. But X Games are fun. There's heaps of practice.
Yeah.
It's a challenging course. I enjoy the challenge and trying to ride different stuff. So I'll definitely ride some more X Games and keep competing for sure. I definitely I like having something to strive for. Day in, day out to get to this event or to do well at this next event, things like that. And I enjoy traveling as well. So I definitely want to get some more travel into. Definitely plan to keep competing. Whether I go to the next Olympics or not, I'm not sure. I definitely don't want to go to the next Olympics if I put as much pressure as much pressure on myself as I did leading into Paris. I don't want that. I was leading into Paris excited for it to be finished, whether it went good or bad. I think I said that before, and I don't want that. I don't want that. I just didn't like it. I didn't like that type of feeling. I was just so excited for it to be done. So. It's not a good position to be in, and I didn't like that. I enjoy riding my bike because I have a love for the sport. So we'll see. I'm just going to take it year by year. Keep competing. Keep pushing my level. See how far I can get. See what I can get done and things like that. And then go from there. But if I'm competing at a high level and enjoying competing, then I'll go for LA. We'll see.
Yeah, that's sick. Dude, you should just put out just the banging web video of all time.
It crosses my mind. It definitely crosses my mind whether I, try and change things up a little bit. Put brakes back on or put pegs on for a while and just do some stuff. But I have to have a crew for that. I don't. If I just put pegs on and brakes and go ride some parks, I'm just riding by myself. So I don't have a crew to come and ride parks and stuff with me, so that's sort of a thing that sort of holds me back a little bit, is I don't have a crew. My crew is here riding for competitions. That's the tricky thing. And
oh man, I'm sure if you hit some dudes up, you'd be fucking you have crew wherever you want to go.
But then it's like during the week and stuff when I can ride, it's they're at work and things like that. So it's just tough. It's a tough one to be in when you do this full time.
That's very true. Bit different once you've got the structure and
exactly. Even like if I went and caught some sessions with Boyd and stuff like that, it's just like, well, I probably can't catch a session with him all the time because he'll ride in the afternoon or things like that, and just on a day that I feel like riding, he's not riding, and I don't know. Sure. It's just trying to establish that new crew if I did change up my riding, but I would love to find a good crew to ride some different parks with, because I enjoy doing that.
That's sick. It's really cool to hear, like, obviously we were talking earlier about like the intrinsic motivation and things like that, but like, dude, you don't sound like you have intrinsic motivation really to be the best. I feel like that just comes as a consequence of you loving BMX. That's what it sounds like to me.
For sure. No, that's pretty much what it is. I've always wanted to just sort of be able to push myself and see how far I can get. And obviously I have these goals and things like that. But it's a motivation to just better myself. Yeah,
that's sick, man.
Love
hearing it. Well, Logan, we've hit the hour mark. I really appreciate you taking some time out and jumping on the microphone. Appreciate it, man.
For sure. No, thanks for having me. glad we lined it up and made it work.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, enjoy your holiday, and
Will do.
I'll catch you again.
Awesome,
man. Thank you.